G'day guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, episode 147, and today we have a lot to talk about. With only 1 week to go before the season begins, we have pre-season games coming up, along with taking a look at some massive news regarding some big contracts being signed in the AFL, and we're also going to be taking a look at Sam McClure's A-graders and saying if we rate it or hate it. So let's not waste any more of your time. Let's roll the intro and get straight into it. Welcome to the Boundary Riders podcast, your one-stop shop for all your AFL content needs.
He looks at his options and Jack Ginnivan says, boys, you brought me to the club to do just this.
But this guy has flog written all over him.
From a tack down, Reed sprints away from Petrarca, leaves him in his wake, takes a second bounce, takes a third. The sheer arrogance of Harley Reid. Finish the job, young man.
So let's get into the footy news from the week that was. Hey guys, my brother, of course, is here with me, and not a very good game from Port Adelaide in the match simulation. Are you thinking like bottom 4 now for Port?
Oh yeah, we're finishing like bottom 2. Nah,
Yeah.
That was a pathetic performance. You know, read so much into it. You know,
Carlton are premiers. I mean,
yeah.
I'm pretty annoyed.
Yeah.
I don't want Carlton to be premiers. I like them being down the bottom, useless. But I mean, there were some pretty interesting results over the match simulations over the week. So looking at last week, right back to what I think was last Monday. Hawthorn won over Geelong. Carlton, of course, massive upset in the match simulation, winning against Brisbane by 15 points. Swans, good performance against the Dogs, winning by 33. St Kilda absolutely obliterating the Gold Coast Suns by 61 points. It was Essendon who won by 50 over Richmond. Giants won by 35 points over the Pies. Massive win for the Demons, winning by 80 points over North Melbourne. The Crows winning by 19 points over Port Adelaide, and then Fremantle running away with it, winning by 28 points against the Eagles. And looking into the games this week, of course, today, as of you guys listening to this, Carlton will play Geelong in the first pre-season game. Then the Swans will play the Giants on Thursday evening, and Brisbane will play the Gold Coast on Thursday night. Friday evening, we have Melbourne up against Richmond, and the Dogs up against Hawthorn on Friday night. Saturday, we have St Kilda up against Essendon in the afternoon. On the evening, we have Freo up against the Crows. And on Sunday, we have North Melbourne against Collingwood at 2:40. And then West Coast will play Port Adelaide to round out the pre-season. And then we're right into it.
Then yeah, the week after Thursday is the opening round.
Yes, opening night is the Swans, of course, up against Carlton, which is going to be big. Now, I know, obviously, like you mentioned, like you were joking around saying it was such a big deal, but did you take anything away from the match simulations?
It was there's some really good, interesting results. I thought that with the Port Adelaide, for example, like it was just a bit obvious of how much Port Adelaide are going to rely on Georgiadis if Marshall's going to be taking that backman role, because Ollie Lord really does need to step up now with what they're doing. So it's going to be interesting. Lukosius, I don't think so. Like, he's not a prime forward. He's not your 1 or 2 prime forward.
Yeah, he's definitely your third tall.
Yeah, he's your third, fourth tall. That's what he is. But it's just going to be interesting to see their new game style. I was interested to see, you know, the new recruits playing for each of their teams. You know, like the Giants with the Clayton Oliver now with a couple injuries to the Giants. I thought it was very interesting to see, you know, the Melbourne, like with the Pickett brothers and
Cousins.
Cousins, sorry, but you know, how they're going to play with each other, and how these new coaches are going to implement their new game styles.
Yeah, I mean, I was most impressed probably by a couple of new recruits. Sam Flanders was very good. I like to see how he played in St Kilda in his first time in St Kilda colours. Carlton, I mean, I know obviously we joke around, but it was good that they had a good early performance to start things off. Jagger Smith showed some good signs. Sam Walsh, we'll get to him in a moment regarding the contract, but he showed some decent signs in probably his first pre-season in a very long time. I did like how, you know, even like West Coast played in that first half in the pre-season game. It looked pretty good. I'm obviously saving one big one till the end of Errol Goulden, Charlie Curnow combination. That was just,
It was the really the only match sim I really watched, and if you're an opposition team, analysing that, you're like, fuck. One of them.
Surely, opening round, Carlton have got to match up for Errol Goulden. Surely.
If he's gonna lace him out 50 times this year.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at that as a first look, could he win the Coleman?
I mean, he's gonna have to stay fit.
But
which has been an issue the last couple of years. But he's pretty much had a full pre-season with the Swans. So if he has a good run at it, it would be a very interesting watch. It's very interesting to watch as well. Like Carlton fans, you obviously 12 months ago would have been like, oh, Charlie's primed. He's going to be good if this was in blue, if he was in 100%. Navy blue.
Yeah.
But now they're like, oh, he's overrated. He doesn't try.
He's going to look at his knees. He's going to do his knee again.
Oh, remember that photo that went viral because it looked a bit weird, his knee, and they're like, oh, fucking whatever.
But the only other team I'm kind of looking at from that match, the simulations, is the Crows, with them having such a great season. Riley Thilthorpe looks like he's still going to be even better this year. So it will be interesting to see the Crows, how they go about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a team that did surprise me, even though, yes, they beat up North Melbourne. Melbourne, the Demons are actually quite impressive. I like their new midfield group. They didn't even have Max Gawn in the team. But on the other side of the coin, North Melbourne, that was deplorable.
It's still the reason it's a match sim, but the problem that they've got is what they've had for the last 6 years is their defense. And they conceded 130 points.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a match sim.
And the thing is, North Melbourne fans and North Melbourne people could just sit there and say, oh, it's a match sim, who cares? And fair enough. But also it's like, this team has been so disappointing for so many years, and now they finally have a little bit of hope growing. It just...
you just want to see a bit of promise.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the sort of thing that match simulations kind of show, is the promise that's going forward. Yes, and I mean, we're going to read into it a little bit. If North Melbourne don't start off well this season, and if they don't play well against Collingwood in their pre-season match, how long has Alistair Clarkson got if it does hit, round 5 or 6 and they haven't got a win?
Yeah, well, you just have to look at, West Coast in their match sim. First disposal that Willem Dersma gets, he kicks a goal from 50, or one of the first highlights of him. Just that little promise and just that little bit of excitement that you get from that. And you look at North Melbourne and they lose by 80 points.
Yeah.
And he's like, can we see a bit of effort or a bit of promise and a bit of some highlights or something?
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's a big concern around Tristan Cherry and how he's going to go with the new ruck rules. So he was he nearly got an All-Australian nod last year, and a lot of those bigger-bodied ruckmen are going to find it's going to be interesting to see how they go in the first couple of rounds. I think when the pre-season games come this weekend, we'll get a little bit more of an idea. Obviously, with KO, a lot of people probably missed out on the match simulations, but this will be the first real look for a lot of other people watching these games.
And you're going to see a lot of these round one teams, opening round, they're going to play the best team here, because they've only got this run and then they're back into it. So you're looking at the new ruck rule and you're like, well, Riley O'Brien for the Crows didn't even play.
Yeah, they picked up Lachlan McAndrew, who's someone who was not even on a list. I think it was pretty much nearly 12 months ago. He wasn't even on an AFL list until he got picked up by the Crows as an SSP signing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that would be very interesting if the Crows decide to leave out Riley O'Brien, but at the moment, all signs are signalling that he probably won't be.
Well, you think if he doesn't, let's say 3 weeks out, he didn't play last week. If he doesn't play this week, he's got another week of a bye, really, if you think about it, and then plays Collingwood the week after. You think if he hasn't played last week, he's not really in consideration for next week unless there's a serious injury to McAndrew.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, I think everyone's going to be watching for the preseason. If I had to pick two teams, one that would most impress me and one that didn't impress me at all, it's probably both on the North Melbourne game, to be honest. I think I was very impressed by Melbourne, how they performed. Cozzy Pickett, I think he's going through that midfield as much as they possibly can get him this year. Yeah. He was brilliant. Some of those highlights of him flashing through the clearance and just kicking goals was outstanding. I was impressed by my Swans. I did like how they looked. There are a couple of teams like the Bulldogs who you can't really get a good gauge on, considering they had such a inexperienced team, and same with Geelong as well.
Same with Gold Coast as well. When you're picking up two retirees in Dave Swallow and Alex Sexton for the game, it's kind of showing that they had no one there for that match, really. Yeah, a lot of their rookies and.
I mean, St Kilda did impress me, though, as well. All their recruits showed some good things, and a couple of the other guys like Filippo and Wilson, they showed some good signs as well. Hopefully those guys can come along this year. And then probably a team that really did disappoint me. I mean, yes, North Melbourne. Port Adelaide did a little bit as well. I thought they would have done a little bit better in this performance. I mean, Zach Butters and Georgiades were pretty big outs, but I thought they could have given up a little bit more of a better performance in this matchup. And then... I'm probably looking at, not so much. Hawthorn didn't really impress me at all. Like, even though they won, that midfield, there was a couple of highlights for the midfield of them just getting absolutely sliced. So that does concern me if you're a Hawthorn fan early on this year. Because, I mean, if they don't go up, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Because, I mean, they went so hard on Zach Merritt and missed out on him. He was that player that they needed. So if they get carved up through the midfield this year, maybe offering up that extra player may have been the right call.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on from the match simulations. And, of course, last week, we'll move into some news and injury updates throughout the week that was. And first of all, let's take a look at some injury updates. So, Bailey Dale from the Western Bulldogs looks like he is in doubt for opening round after sustaining a injury in the game against the Sydney Swans, a low-grade MCL strain. Doesn't sound very good. We did see throughout that match sim that Jax was a player who played pretty decent for the Dogs off halfback. They've also got Lockie Carmichael, another draftee who they picked up, Swans Academy player. So I will be interested to see how this plays out from the Dogs. But if it's opening round again up in the Gabba as well, I'd be surprised if they risk Bailey Dale this early.
Yeah, especially with it'll be high in humidity and dew and all that. So he's likely to, probably make it worse, really, with that sort of an injury. So it's like most people will say, if it's early in the season, they've only got a couple of weeks, you take the cautious approach and let him go in 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. Now, I think it says as well, I've heard news regarding Matt Rao that he may actually he may be left out until after their first bye, because I believe they have an early one.
Yeah.
So that would be an interesting watch for the Gold Coast. Brian Myers also hurt his thumb yesterday, and the day before yesterday, and he will be out for opening round at the moment for Geelong. So that's a couple of injury updates. On the news side of things, Port Adelaide. Very interesting here. They actually decided to go away from Jaden Stevenson and picking up 2 other players. One of them was Balin O'Brien, who made his Sandford debut for Norwood last season, while East Perth product in Mitch Zaddo, who played 21 games in the Waffle level the last two years, has been picked up by Port Adelaide. So I was very surprised by this. I thought that Jaden Stevenson would be picked up. I mean, he sounds like he had a pretty strong pre-season, kicked 2 goals 4 in the match simulation, and was left out. So, what were your initial thoughts on this?
Well, it proves that no journo in the AFL knows anything, because they were all convinced that he was getting picked up from Port Adelaide. But
I mean, there were a couple of people who were saying like he's not going to get the Port Adelaide may not go in with anyone at all.
Yeah. But I think when who did we lose? We lost it. But yeah, I think. I'm not surprised.
Tom Cochrane, is that what you were alluding to?
Yeah, I think Cochrane, that he was going to be he was just going to open that, maybe in a list spot for that one. But I'm a bit surprised. I thought they would pick him up, but I can kind of see why they didn't, because he's been away from the game for so long. He's only had 3 to 4 months to give it a go. It wasn't a lot of time.
Yeah, and I mean, he wasn't even at a reserve league level last year. He was below that level. Yeah. So I wouldn't be too surprised, even though, I mean, I don't think he's staying in Adelaide. I think he'll go back to Victoria. I wouldn't be surprised if a VFL club picks him up for a year, and then maybe he goes around again. Because I mean, he's getting a bit older now. He'd be around in the he got it in 2016 he won the Rising Star? 2016 to 2018? 2018 would have been. Yeah, because that's when they lost to Granny. So he would be, 26, 27, 28 nearly next year. So time's a bit running out on him. So I'll have to wait how that plays out. McKelty Lafau has been banned for 2 matches after being caught drink driving. 2 times over the limit, by the way. He got also fined $2,500, which is for an AFL footballer, basically nothing. Even though I don't think McKelty Lafau's on much money. I can't believe. I can believe that they were very lenient on this. Like, I think he should have got 5 or 6 weeks. He's 2 times over the limit. And by the way, this isn't Richmond's first issue they've had in the last 12 months. We've had Dion Prestia, who got caught in legal trouble. Obviously, Noah Bold's the most famous one. Now McKelty Lafau. There's something going on here.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I think Adam Uze, or one of the people up high in their department, should have been a bit more harsher on it. Like,
I mean, at least 4 weeks.
To set a standard. And what I thought was hilarious was it's 2 matches, but it can include this week's pre-season match. It's like,
so he misses round 1.
So who cares about a pre-season match?
Exactly.
And he'll miss the opening round against Carlton. Okay, well, he might not have even yes, he showed a few promising signs last. Was it last season?
2 years.
2 years ago. Well, yeah, when he played, but it's not like he was guaranteed the spot in the side.
Yeah.
It's like 2 matches. Well, he might. It's not like it was a big player in like Dion Prestia or a person Taranto or Noel Bolter. Like their whole game surrounded those sort of a player. So I thought they should have been a bit harsher on it.
A bit. I think they should have been a lot more harsher on it because this is this thing that Richmond have been going through for a bit now.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here again. And the thing is as well, like this isn't the grand final, premiership dynasty Richmond anymore. This is a different team. Adam Muse's like the new guy now. I think famously when he did get the new coaching job, he tore down everything to do with the dynasty and said this is a new start now. And it's just very soft, the fact that they only gave him 2 matches, which is basically just 1 match that he's been suspended for, and a $2,500 fine, which is, I think, the majority of AFL players now are getting over $100,000. Just on a salary.
I think it's like rookies are getting like paid 60 to 70 as rookies. So.
I think it's even more than that now. I think it's like up to 80 or 90,000, and he's not a rookie. So, is he still? He could still be a rookie, but I still think I think as a safe estimate, he's getting $100,000, $2,500, which is probably like what I don't know. Obviously, the maths, I'm not very good at it. That's why I'm not. That's why. I know I did pass high school, so good for me. But I don't think that it's not a lot. It's not a lot. It's not enough. I would say.
Yeah.
Like you could potentially be. Like, he was double over the speed limit. Over the blood alcohol limit. He could have. He could have killed someone.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was a regular person on the street who's 2 times over the limit, do you think they're only getting that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming he's probably going to lose his license, but he's an AFL footballer. And then most of them live together as teammates and go to training together. Like he can just be taken there by one of his teammates.
Yeah, and there's like plenty of like taxis, Ubers, or anything these days. So why would you risk it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that is also true. I mean, it's on him. He shouldn't be fucking around like a dickhead and fucking driving 2 times over the limit. But that's even more reason why Richmond should have been like, you were a person of age. I think he'd be in his early 20s. Like, you're old enough to know that that's fucking stupid. Anyway. I don't want to go and say, there's a culture problem at Richmond, but there are a couple of signs. It's very interesting in the last couple of years, last 12 months or so, that there's been a lot of things happening off field for the Tigers. But we'll leave it there. Of course, the big news today was that Sam Walsh has signed a huge deal to stay at Carlton for life, basically an 8-year contract, which makes it the biggest in the club's history. What do you think about this?
I think you had to. I think they had to do it. I think that Geelong would have come fast for him, would have hard for him as well. Like, there's a lot of teams that would have gone for him.
I just think it's a lot for a guy who's basically struggled to finish a pre-season for a very long time.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But I think that based on the fact is that, he's that glue that's going to be there for the next 10 years. Their whole midfield is surrounding him. With Cripps going to retire in the next 2 or 3 years, you'd think, it's all on Walsh. And if they can get him fit, you'll see the reason, why like Rosie, Butters, and the other people that were in that same draft as him, why he was picked at number 1.
I totally agree that, like, on paper, there's a reason why he got signed that amount. And you can look, people would definitely point to the fact that last month or so in 2023, when he was like in red hot form and won a Gary Ayres medal, why he deserves an 8-year contract. But there's also a huge reason why I would be I'm very cautious on this, which is 8 years for a guy who has struggled to finish a pre-season. Are we really going to be trusting that he gets through every single pre-season from now? What happens if he plays? I mean, there's a real possibility that he plays, out of 8 years, he could play 150, 160, 170 more games. Or he could be struggling to make 100 based on his injury problems. If he plays 100 more games and has an 8-year contract, plays barely over 10 games a year, maybe 15 at the most, if he keeps on having injury problems, it's a huge risk. And we also know things like people can say that, like, he loves the club and he wanted to stay there long term because of that. But there's been instances, most recently, you look at Zach Merritt, who was like ready, who was like would have done nearly anything to get out of Essendon at some point. So I think it's a huge risk for a guy who has had issues in the past. Like, I mean, if you do compare it to a Zach Merritt type, at least with Zach Merritt when they signed him to a long-term deal, he has been like he's had no issues with like injury for most of his career.
Yeah.
But then you look at the example of like long contracts. Some of them, worked out well. But then you look at like a player like Max King, who had injury problems in his early career. St Kilda re-signed him on a massive deal, and he hasn't played a game since he signed it.
Yeah.
So I would be very concerned if I'm Carlton on that deal. Like, yes, it may well work out perfectly. That he'll be their next captain. He could be a dual Brownlow medalist, just like Paddy Cripps, and he may be that star that Carlton need to build them to a premiership. Yeah. But also, I don't think it was needed to be 8. I think 8 was a very high number.
I think a lot of teams are getting scared now with Tasmania coming in.
Yeah.
I think they're really scared of how many players are going to be tempted to go down to the upper aisle. So it'll be interesting.
I think that a lot of clubs around the AFL need to be... I mean, I think the clubs... They saw the example last trade period with Zach Merritt and trying to take some power back to the clubs. And even with like a Charlie Curnow, yes, he got to Sydney in the end, but it was the only club that they could deal with, Carlton, to get the deal done. Like, a lot of the time, players just leave to the club that they want to, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But last year it proved that like the clubs are starting to get some power back. So that just relinquishes a lot of power to Sam Walsh, who, he has that security now. Like, he doesn't have that push. I think that 8 years is too long. Like, signing him is great. I think it's awesome for Carlton fans and everything, but 8 years seems like way too long for mine. I just thought that may be the issue for the Blues. They did have some good news as well, other good news throughout the week. They did re-sign Elijah Hollins back to the club on SSP after training throughout the preseason and didn't put a foot wrong, so that's good to see. And Wade Dirksen as well was picked up by the Blues after getting delisted from GWS, and Melbourne didn't want to pick him up anymore. They kind of just said, nah, don't worry about it. And then he got picked up by Carlton, so that is good for both of them. Now, I did see this interesting graphic from the AFL release today looking at the teams with the hardest compared to the easiest draw from the first 7 rounds. This is between opening round and round 6. Now, it does say at the moment that the Bulldogs have the hardest draw in the league going into the first 6 rounds. And when I did my ladder predictor, I think I had them 1-5 after those 6 rounds. So it's going to be a tough start for the Doggies. And
so you're saying that Beveridge will be in the hot seat by round 6, by the end of round 6?
I mean, he very well could be. I think he could be struggling. St Kilda have a pretty tough start as well, along with Collingwood, the Crows, the Swans, and the Cats as the 6 hardest draws in the game. The Giants sit in equal 8th, but have a very easy draw after that point, so that's not too bad. Looking down at the bottom, though, the easiest draws going into the season, the first 6 or 7 rounds. Essendon are 13th, Brisbane are 14th, so that's very nice for them coming off a flag. Carlton are 15th. North Melbourne is 16th. Gold Coast is 17th after making finals for the first time. And then Port Adelaide sit with the easiest draw in the first 2 months of the season. So, as soon as I sent you this, you did say to me that Port Adelaide should be aiming for a wildcard spot this year.
Yeah, I think what we play, I think it's West Coast and North Melbourne twice, Essendon twice, the Swans twice, the Crows twice. You're probably not going to win the showdowns, but the other ones, you probably split the Swans depending on the ground. Because Sydney's have struggled at Adelaide Oval in the past. You probably take the other one. Then the other 3, you probably take all wins. You'll probably be hoping for, as a Port
Adelaide would be going into that game thinking we're going to win.
Yeah, you want to win the other 6 against North Melbourne, West Coast, and Essendon. I think the other one's St Kilda, but don't quote me on that. But you split that as well because they have a terrible record in Adelaide, and you'd think that St Kilda will win the games at Marvel. So that's probably 7 wins.
7 or 8.
7 or 8 wins there. So it should be...
And I mean, last year, I think 14 got you into the 8. So you're thinking... I think the teams last year, like the Swans...
14 will get you to the wild card spot.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying,
15 was enough to get you in the 8. So, yeah, I think you look at it that way and you think that's another, 7 or 8 wins you need. Well, Port Adelaide should try and make the Adelaide Oval the fortress like the Crows have. And you should be able to pick up another 3 or 4 wins. And then try and find some others away as well. So
Yeah, Paul can not even fluke, but just grab a couple of wins away from home, and then snatch 1 or 2 victories here and there, along with beating up a team that's potentially down the bottom of the ladder. I agree with you, but do you think they will?
no, because I don't. I think the sad reality is of any sport is injuries, and Port Adelaide don't have a lot of depth.
I'd be looking at Port Adelaide's depth and thinking, Christ, it's very thin.
If we lose Georgiades, if we lose Butters and Horn Francis, if Horn Francis has especially been injured the last couple of seasons,
and throughout this pre-season as well.
And throughout this pre-season, I don't see a way that Port Adelaide are going to keep all those prime players play 20 plus games a year.
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
And I think that, their depth is going to be hugely tested if 3 or 4 injuries, come through. Because they're young guys. They've kind of, I would say they've been a team that's probably neglected the draft over the years. So they don't really have a lot of those kids through there.
We picked up one in the rookie draft last season?
Yeah, it was one guy. It was Watkins, who played in their Port Adelaide Sandford team. Anyway, I did want to take a look at Sam McClure's famous A-graders list. Now, last year he dropped it and everyone hated it. Well, not everyone hated it, but there were a lot of issues with people had that with a couple. I had an issue with Isaac Heaney not being on the list. I thought that he was an A-grader just because he hasn't played a couple of grand finals very well. I still think that other than that, he's done very well in his career. I mean, if you're going to put that as like a reason why Isaac Heaney isn't there, then I think that Paddy Cripps doesn't deserve to be on there either because he hasn't been good in grand finals. Well, he hasn't even made one, so I don't think that's fair. And you look at Zach Merritt as well. He hasn't even won a final, so why is he on this list? But anyway, Sam McClure has released his 2026 A-graders list. For the Crows, he's only got Jordan Dawson. For Brisbane, you got Harris Andrews, Lockie Neal, Hugh McCluggage, Charlie Cameron, and Dane Zorko. I don't know about Charlie Cameron on this list. I think he's probably dropped off in the last couple of years.
Well, last season he had the worst one he's ever had at Brisbane. Yeah. So I don't know how the hell he's still there.
Now, we've got Patrick Cripps and Jacob Wiedering for Carlton. Collingwood's only player on this list is Nick Dacos. Zach Merritt's the only Bombers player. For Fremantle, he's got Andrew Brayshaw and Caleb Sarong. For Geelong, Jeremy Cameron, Patrick Dangerfield, and Tom Stewart. I don't know about Dangerfield on this list. I think it's probably past him from being an A-grader now.
I think it's just the fact is that he's so, he's in the end of his career. If he's still their number one A-grader, a part of that A-grade club, he'll still play good games, but every single player does.
Yeah,
that have shown over
the quality that he is. Of course, he's going to have some good games every now and then. Yeah. For the Gold Coast, he's got Noah Anderson, Matt Rowell, Christian Petrarca. For the Giants, Toby Green, Tom Green, and Sam Taylor. For Hawthorn, he's got James Sicily as the only Hawthorn player.
I don't think he should be either.
Yeah, I don't think he should be either. Max Gawn for Melbourne, Port Adelaide, Connor Rosie, and Zach Butters. Mitch Georgiades may be a little bit tough to not make this list, but
he did kick a lot of goals last season, but I think it was.
I think you have to do it more than one.
I think you have to do it one more. I think another season at his best, I think he can get in that.
Nasai, so St Kilda, he's got Nasai, Wanganeen, Miller. Do you think that that's a little bit early, recency bias, or do you think that's fair?
I think it is recency bias, but I think there's possibility of why he's there. But I think it's based on how he played last season. I think, by the end of the
he's one of the more unique players in the game. I think that's fair enough. For the Swans, he's got Errol Goulden, Chad Warner, Isaac Heaney, Charlie Curnow. I'm going to make a big call here. The last couple of years, I wouldn't put Chad Warner. I think Chad Warner probably isn't on this list, to be honest. I think that he's dropped down a bit more. I think especially last year, his stats sheet would say he's done pretty well, but I think that he butchers the footy so much.
I think a lot of the contract talk last season showed that he won't say it, he was distracted by it. I think until he signed it, then he showed a few good games, but I think, he probably maybe doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know. But as a Sydney Swans fan, I love Chad Warner as a player, but I do think he needs to find more consistency to be seen as an A-grader. Isaac Heaney last year, people would have said that he had a down year compared to his 2024 campaign, but he's on this list now and he wasn't on there last year. I mean, I think he had a terrific season. I think it was a very underrated campaign from Isaac Heaney, but I do think that's a little bit of weirdness that kind of maybe falling to a little bit of pressure because Isaac Heaney, the reason him not being on there last year received a lot of scrutiny. So I think he's kind of put him on there. Because, I mean, what if you can't put him on there last year, how can you put him on there this year?
I think with the amount of injuries that the Swans had, I think he did, play a very good season for what other injuries to their top players had.
Yeah, and then finally he's got Marcus Bontempelli as the only Bulldogs player. So there are a few players missing from this list. First of all is Bailey Smith. Now, I don't mind him not putting Bailey Smith on this list.
No, he's been injured previous year. He played one good final series for the Dogs until he got injured and then left. And he played one good he played probably his best season this year against last year for the Cats. So I can see why he's not there.
Yeah, I would be. I'm not too disappointed. I'm not too concerned about that. Cozzy Pickett being not in there for Melbourne, I don't know. I wouldn't personally. If I saw him on that list, I would have been like, that's fair that he's on there. But him not being on there, I feel like I'm not like exactly like, oh, that's bullshit. He got robbed.
Yeah, I think
For Sam Walsh, I think that's fair enough.
He's not even close to that. Sorry,
Not the last couple of years.
No.
Max Holmes, I think, has been robbed.
Yeah, well, he's robbed of all Australians, so.
I think he is one of the best. Yeah, I think honestly, I agree that I think he's more important to Geelong than Bailey Smith.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the. He's a very unique player and he uses the ball quite well. Josh Dacos, I'm not surprised by that. Josh Dunkley, I think he's incredibly underrated by a lot of people. I think he should have probably been on this list.
Yeah, is that the only one that isn't there? I think there's one more that still no one is considering.
Which one's that?
And it's the one that should have been for St Kilda. And I think Cal Wilkie should have been in that list.
Yeah, I mean, I think
he's. But I've always had a soft spot for Cal Wilkie, South Australian. Always wanted him back here, but
he was a Crows fan though.
Yeah, but I think he's still for some reason, I still think he's underrated. I still think a lot of people underrate him. Like he's. I
mean, he didn't even make this team, and I think he's probably one of the best defenders in the game.
Isn't he a two-time All-Australian now?
Yeah, I think he'd be up there. 2 or 3.
I know he got it last year, but I think he's he's definitely a one-time All-Australian. I know that, but
yeah,
still, I think All-Australian. He should have. I think A graders. He's still one of the best.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, there's a couple of players on this list that I'm not. I think Dangerfield, should be off this list. Charlie Cameron, I could take off this list as well. Potentially Chad Warner, although I'm not opposed to that. I think John Newcombe should be on this list. I think he is the only A grader at Hawthorn, right? Like right now, playing in round 1.
Yeah,
I think he's as important as James Sicily, and I don't think that Sicily should be on this list.
Nah.
But overall, I think that this hasn't received as much backlash as it did last time he released it. A lot of people probably would say that Max Holmes was very unlucky to not get picked in there. Isaac Rankin, some people are making the point of maybe he should have been on there. I think he needs to be a little bit more consistent. I think in his best years.
I think if you don't have Cozzy Pickett, you don't have Rankin in that.
Yeah.
I think if you have Rankin, you have to have Cozzy in it.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. But yeah, that's pretty much all we've got on the Sam McClure front. If you had to give it a rate it or hate it, I mean, overall, I know this would be a bad thing to say. A lot of people more than happy to shit on Sam McClure, me included. I kind of rate it. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I think he's got most of them right. I think he's got most of it right.
And there's none there that I'm like, oh, that's not. Actually, you know what? Maybe James Sicily. I know that's kind of putting a lot on it.
Sicily's probably the one that I'm like, you don't have him on that list.
I would probably put Josh Battle in front of him from the last year or so. So, yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much all the footy chat we have for this week, guys. Next week, we'll be going over my brother's ladder predictions going into the season, along with the tips for the first time for the year. And I didn't mention it in the match simulation review, but a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news for the channel. The bad news is we won't be doing a review video every single week this year. We will still be doing the votes and the Boundary Riders medal, of course. We will be keeping that as a secret, but the good news is for the tips this year, if you guys did watch that match sim review, we do have a partnership on the channel, which is Game Day Squad, if you guys saw it. This isn't an add-on here. They didn't pay anybody. They didn't really pay me to do the Game Day Squad on the channel. They give like a kickback for you guys supporting the channel for it. But that they're going to be with us for, I think, the majority of the season. We'll have to wait and see. So if you guys do like that sort of stuff, want to show support to the channel, that's a free way to do it. So to support the sponsors or the partners with the channel to help out. I just wanted to quickly mention that as well. And they'll be there for the tips. So I'm going to be talking about that sort of stuff through the tips throughout this year as well. So last thing before we move into a little bit of world sport, you can see in the top, that's left, I think. Yeah, left-hand screen right now above on the left of my brother's head. You guys can join our AFL fantasy competition and our AFL tipping comp. I think you told me that we had like 59 people in that AFL fantasy competition now, which is quite cool. I think we have about 35 people in the tipping competition. So, have you thought about a prize for people who win that? We just want to do the same as last year, 100.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to win both.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. So you guys have to pay me to give my brother a $100 gift voucher $200 worth of gift vouchers because he's going to win both. Even though I think you finished nearly bottom of the tipping competition last year.
Yeah, I kind of screwed that.
Yeah, and I think you finished mid-table out of 100, but out of nearly 80 people.
So that's all that mattered.
By like 20 points. Literally, it was like very close.
It was only for like 20 points.
Anyway, that's all for the footy this week, guys. So let's move on, talk a little bit of soccer from the weekend. The Champions League's on tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, the second leg.
Second leg of all those games. Looking at the Premier League over the weekend, though, Chelsea just fucking, oh my God, the most inconsistent fucking team you just could imagine. They go out and beat teams like Barcelona in the Champions League and then drop points against Burnley in the 90th minute. Fucking unbelievable. It's always fun to be a bloody Chelsea fan. But anyway, going back first of all to middle of last week where Wolverhampton and Arsenal, I think we said it on the episode that last week's episode that Arsenal, pretty easy win here, and they get back on track and then they draw 2-2 to Wolverhampton after having a 2-0 lead.
Are they choking?
Well, they did. Well, we'll get to the results from this week, but they're doing everything they can, I think. And City are coming hard.
I think they're just letting them letting City come back into it because Aston Villa, I think, have just fallen off the planet.
I think they've dropped it. They've dropped the ball. So I think it's now a two-horse race.
It's a two-horse race, and I think City are just hanging in the background at the moment.
Since the January transfer window when they picked up Mark Gehi and Semenyo, they've hit some
form. There's got a few other options now.
It's not just Haaland or bust.
Yeah. And with Marmoush coming back from international duties and, they've got a few other options there. And if Arsenal are going to be a bit of
they're potentially going to bottle it again. City are right there. And it's probably the one team you don't want to be chasing you.
No.
Because they will catch you back.
Take that from experience from the last go with Liverpool doing it.
Yes, exactly.
You don't want City coming.
You can't take your foot off the throttle.
No.
Or else you're going to be in trouble.
I've always said when Liverpool have won at the last times that they've done it, I said, no, not until it's mathematically chanced, then Because, they'll catch you.
Now, looking at other results from the weekend, Villa basically have lost their spot now. It's a two-horse race because of a 1-1 draw to Leeds United. 2-0 win from Brighton over Brentford in a bit of a surprising one. Chelsea drawing 1-1 against Burnley. That was fucking atrocious. They had that game won, and yet they just couldn't put it away. Fucking unbelievable. West Ham and Bournemouth played in a very good game of a 0-0 draw. Probably one of the most exciting highlight reels I've seen from a 0-0 draw in some time. Went pinged from end to end, but they still couldn't find a goal. City won 2-1 over Newcastle. Crystal Palace getting a gutsy 1-0 win over Wolverhampton. Liverpool getting absolutely fucking lucky with a 1-0 win over Nottingham Forest.
Lovely goal by McAllister. Lovely goal.
And the one that got taken away from him about 10 minutes earlier was a little bit it was
that's VAR. Whatever.
Yeah. Fulham winning 3-1 away from home against Sunderland. And then Manchester United winning 1-0 over Everton, which was yesterday. And then to the result I want to talk about. Arsenal against Tottenham, 4-1 away from home. Arsenal win, get back on the winners list. Have you heard the line?
What? We're going to win?
No, it's Arsenal. I hate to be a Tottenham fan right now because this season Arsenal have won. The game's combined score is 8-2. So Tottenham, I hate to be a Tottenham fan right now. That's some good shit for the Arsenal fans.
It would be funny, Arsenal win the league and Tottenham get relegated. That would be like every Arsenal fan's wet dream.
Oh, I was going to say that's exactly what it is. And the thing is, they are at a genuine chance of being relegated. They are only 4 points away from safety. It's not like a meme like last year when people are like, "Oh, your Tottenham are going to get relegated."
It was like a 9-point gap nearly. There was a 9 point. Or so.
I think Tottenham only dropped to 17th spot in the last week of the season as well. So
it was very much guaranteed that the bottom three were going to be bottom three. That there was too much.
It was almost done by Christmas. Yeah. That relegation battle.
Yeah.
So. We look at the table right now. Arsenal lead by 5 points on top, but City do have a game in hand.
So
you can almost say it's 2 points, almost. Aston Villa sitting in third. Manchester United, who have hit red-hot form since the appointment of Michael Carrick, have jumped into fourth spot.
It's a 6-game winless run.
Unbeaten.
Unbeaten run. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, that guy still had to he couldn't get his haircut though, which he probably would have liked. He keeps the content rolling. Chelsea sitting in 5th spot right now, should be higher. Fucking dropped easy points. Liverpool sitting in 6th with equal points on Chelsea. Brentford are in 7th. Bournemouth are in 8th, who have jumped back into a bit of form as of late, which is good to see. Everton are in 9th. Fulham in 10th. Then we drop to the second half of the table where Newcastle are in 11th. Sunderland 12th. Crystal Palace 13th. Brighton 14th. Leeds United 15th. And I think they're safe now. They're 6 points away from West Ham.
Yeah,
it's going to be tough.
Like I've said the last couple of weeks, I think Ellen Road's a tough place to go and win.
Yeah,
and I think the occasional point that they may get.
I mean, they got a point against Aston Villa, which I mean most people wouldn't have expected away from home.
Yeah, so they'll get the occasional draw at home or win. They won't lose a lot of games at home.
Yeah,
Leeds.
Sunderland have probably been a team as of late that have dropped a bit of form. So, I mean, they're lucky that they banked a lot of points in the early parts of the season because they have lost 4 of their past 5.
Yeah,
they've been in pretty poor form. I mean, they're going as bad as Newcastle, who have won 4 of their one of their last 5 as well. And then you're looking at like the worst teams in form right now, which are Wolverhampton, who have actually in the last 3 weeks done better than Tottenham, who are the worst team in the Premier League right now. But going back to the table itself, sitting in the relegation battle right now, you'd have to say, is from 16th to probably 18th, really. I think that Burnley and Wolverhampton, I think officially last week were ruled for the season is done. They can't get out, I think.
Well, no, I think it was actually mathematically they can't win the title, but yeah.
Sorry, I did see it was Sheffield Wednesday who's officially been relegated.
Yeah, because they had a -4.
It was like minus 16 or something. Minus 18. They got -7 still in the league this season. That's in the championship. But yeah, so Tottenham sitting in 16th spot. They're on 29 points right now. You got Nottingham Forest in 17th with 27 points, which is 2 points less than Tottenham. West Ham in 18th spot sit with 25 points. There's a 4-point difference between those 3 teams.
I still think West Ham get out. I think, it would be funny that Tottenham go down, but I just don't see it. I think Nottingham go down and West Ham survive.
Yeah, because West Ham in their past 4 games have only lost 1. They've got 8 points in their last 5 games, which I mean, for a team fighting in relegation, that's still pretty decent. And then West Ham is sitting in that 18th spot. Then you got Burnley, who are 8 points away from safety. I just can't see them getting it done. I mean, they have been able to scrounge points against like a Chelsea, a Liverpool this season, like those top teams, but when they need a win, they just don't get it. So against those teams like a Nottingham, a Tottenham, a Leeds, they just don't get those wins that they need.
No.
So I think they're probably too far gone, and then you got Wolverhampton at the bottom of the 10. So, I mean, when's the last time the bottom team got a point against the top team in the Premier League?
It'll be a while, wouldn't it?
I'd think so. It'd have to be.
I'm surprised I haven't had the stat yet of that.
Yeah, because I mean, when that got done, I mean, they had that game won too, Arsenal. They just took the foot off the throttle, and then they just ran over the top of them.
And it's the thing where when you're coming into the end of the season, those are the games that you need to try to like put goals in the back of the net. You don't
I mean, it's not like it's unheard of that a top team plays poorly against a bottom team, but when a team that's going to win the title, they somehow find a way to get the 3 points.
Yeah.
And when Arsenal drop games like that, it just brings up the point of like they're going to do another bottle job. Because the thing is, if City do find their way in front in the next 3 or 4 weeks, you know it's over. Arsenal are not coming back.
Yeah, if City hit the front, they're not going to relinquish it.
Yeah, exactly. But guys, that is all we have for today's episode of the Boundary Riders podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you are listening over on Spotify, make sure to leave us 5 stars and make sure to follow so you're notified on the podcast every single week. But again, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you all next week.
See you later, guys.